Red Matter was one of my favorite VR games ever. It's like one of the first games I ever purchased, and it's what really got me into VR. So I was super excited to hear about a sequel coming out, and I was even more excited when I got early access to do this review. Red Matter 2 is out as of right now on the Quest 2 and on PCVR. It's going to be selling for $30 unless you bought it early, in which case I think you saved 10%. Either way, I'm going to talk about the good and the bad. I'm going to break the game down into its purest forms, and then you could decide if the game's right for you. So without further ado, let's jump in. First, let's cover the gameplay itself. If you don't already know, Red Matter 2 takes place during a dystopian Cold War, but all of the gameplay is in space or on asteroids or different weird planets. None of it takes place on Earth. Red Matter 2 starts right where Red Matter 1 ended. Now, if you haven't played Red Matter 1, it's not a big deal. You could still play Red Matter 2 and get what's going on. If you played the original, you'll kind of just be more immersed in the game, but I'm sure it will still be a lot of fun if you haven't played the original. Guided by an undercover operative named Beta,
you can just call me Beta.
You escape your captivity on the moon and go to a secret research facility following a distress signal by one of your former colleagues. I don't want to spoil anything, but the fun does not stop there. I find in most games there are boring parts even if the game's good, but in Red Matter 2, every moment is more exciting than the last. One thing I was concerned about when it came to this game were the puzzles. If I couldn't figure out a puzzle, I would be in a little extra trouble with this as well, because I couldn't just Google it with the game not being released yet, so I was lucky to find that all the puzzles I was able to figure out, and they are fun and super engaging, but not too hard where you can't pass them. When it comes to any combat you might face, you could actually adjust the difficulty level to make it right for you. If you're watching this, I'm gonna assume that you already know that the graphics are incredible. They are definitely the best that have ever come to the Quest 2, and that's not an exaggeration. They legit are incredible. They're PCVR level graphics. That plus the incredible environments have ruined every other Quest 2 game for me. Whenever I do a review now, you're gonna hear me say, yeah, the graphics are good, but they're not good compared to Red Matter 2. If you're interested in more of a technical analysis of the graphics, I'm gonna link a video in the description below by Vertical Robot that explains everything they did to make the graphics in this game so great. One of the most notable mechanical upgrades is your character now has a jetpack that allows you to jump over large gaps or up higher on different surfaces. I used it in its hover mode, but if you prefer, there is a teleport mode as well. You can also now shoot flares. The amount of flares that you could shoot is unlimited, but once you shoot a new one, the old flare will die out. The flashlight that is on your controller is not very bright, so the flares really come in handy when you're exploring a cave or anywhere really dark like that. There is also a new gun attachment for the controller. To be completely honest, I have not gotten to the point where you unlock the gun yet, but from what I've seen, it's just a laser gun that comes out of your controller. Other than that, there's all the expected mechanical features. While I mostly would walk, you could also teleport using the jetpack, and there is standing and seated play options as well as right and left-handed support. There's also settings to put blinders on while you are walking, jumping, or turning to prevent motion sickness. Replayability is a little bit tricky, especially in a story-driven game. No matter how good the game is, if you know what's going to happen, it's not as good the second time around. And that's not the fault of Vertical Robot. I don't care what game it is, if it's a story-driven game and you know what's going to happen, it's not going to be as good as the first time you played. I'm not going to reiterate everything I just talked about, but put simply, yes, it's worth every cent. I'm currently about 4 hours into the campaign, and it feels like I'm just getting started. There are no dull moments, and I felt completely immersed and engaged in the game the entire time. So these negatives are very small and nitpicky. I'm almost saying this in a joking way because I've been just kissing this game's butt the entire time, and as a reviewer, I feel like I have to point out any negatives I could find, so that's what I'm doing here. First off, while walking around the facility, you randomly find pens. Now, I try to write with these pens, and sadly you cannot. They are completely just props. I think that's it for the negatives. I'm going to put a link to the game in the description below, both the Steam version and the Quest 2 version. I highly recommend you check it out. I had a lot of fun with it. I hope you do too. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, this is Andy's VR Reviews.